The T1-E6 was a light tank prototype built by the United States in 1932, and it was mainly a copy of the British Type E, Vickers 6-ton Type E, very similar to that in size and suspension even. And after the T1 came the T2, which used the same suspension but had a radial aircraft engine. And then after the T2, eventually came the M1 combat car, then the M3 Stuart, M5 Stuart, which obviously served in World War II. So I'm making a full-scale replica of the suspension for the T1-E6. And in this picture here, it shows a different leaf spring than what I ended up using. But basically, I got one unit there done with only one pair of wheels so far. I didn't buy the other wheels yet. But one complete set's done, and most of the parts that are fabricated for all four units are actually done. So I'll show you those next. Okay, here's what I've got for the T1-E6 suspension. First of all, I guess I'll show you this. I made it a poster, but this is the actual drawing at the U.S. Patent Office for the Harry Knox, patent for his suspension system, which is, like I said, basically a copy of the Vickers Type E 6-ton, except he uses a semi-elliptical instead of a quarter elliptical spring, but otherwise it's the same suspension. The geometry of the swing arm is a little different there, but basic same working principle. So I got all four of these swing arms done. That's all out of 1/4-inch thick steel plate. It's a 1/4-inch thick steel tube on the end. You can see underneath, I added this for bracing. It's all welded on the inside. I was planning to use this as a PVC pipe as a bushing. I figured that's enough surface area to spread the load out for a tank that won't have the full weight of all the armor. I'd probably weigh around 2 tons, I guess, altogether. So that was my plan, to use that PVC bushing and a grease compatible with PVC to mount the swing arm onto a steel tube. I have an 18-inch section of 3-inch diameter DOM tube that goes in there that I was going to weld onto the hull of the tank. I didn't dig that out yet, but I have 4 DOM tubes, 3-inch OD, 1/4-inch thick wall, and 18 inches long. All 4 of those done. So there's the swing arms. These are all the bogey arms. What is it, 16 altogether. They're all 1/2-inch thick steel plate. I've got a 3/4-inch hole at each end and a 1 1/4-inch hole in the center for a bearing. And those little pieces welded on are to hold the head of the axle that goes through so it can't rotate and come loose. These are the leaf slippers. So the end of the leaf spring goes in that square hole, and then that slides over one of the shafts. So I got 8 leaf slippers made out of 1/8-inch steel plate. So all that stuff, I've got the complete stuff for all 4 corners of the suspension. Here's one pair of wheels. That's a 12-inch by 2.5-inch wheel with a rubber cast iron center and rubber tread, solid rubber tread. It's paired together with a steel tube in the center there. You can see it. So I've got all 32 steel tubes. That's a 1 15/16 OD by, I think, 5/16 wall, cut to the right length to press in between those 2 wheels. So those are all ready to go. I got 1 set of bearings in here. It takes a couple tapered roller bearings, so I got the national bearing numbers here for what those are. Here's a couple leaf springs from a trailer, and I bought, they had an eye on both ends, so I cut the eye off one end, and then that goes into the slipper, the leaf slipper. And then this stuff here is all of the hardware to make one complete unit. So you got the 6 shafts with a square head welded on the end, this spacer tube. These are all just other spacers. Those are bushings that go in the center of the spring eyes, some lock tab washers. These are the bearings, bronze, or I can't remember if they're bronze, but they're bushing that goes in each of the center hole in each of the bogie arms. And then there's a leaf spring mount. I don't have U-bolts, but I got a pair of leaf spring mounts. And then these are other parts I've got made for the other 4 so far. So the other spacer tubes, other spacers, lock tabs, and those are the heads that go on all the shafts. I have the material for all this shaft, I just haven't cut it. And then you gotta obviously thread the ends and then weld the square head onto the end. So most of the hardware is done for the other 4. I just haven't cut the shafts to the right length and welded the heads on. What else can I show you? Here's a sketch I made. I have all this on a CAD drawing, but here's a sketch I made that gives you kind of an exploded view of all the parts involved, how they go together. So I can share a picture of this sketch and my CAD drawing as well. Here's my parts list and what everything's made of. Okay.